Hi everyone, this is Kunal from Loop 91. If you are a ServiceNow developer or an architect, the Australia release just dropped a change that is going to fundamentally change how you think about data integrity. We are talking about complete overhaul of read-only attributes. What you see on the screen is the documentation. I'm going to put the link in the description. For years, we have relied on simply read-only checkbox in the dictionary, but as many of you know, that checkbox was more of a suggestion than a rule. Scripts, APIs, and background processes could frequently bypass it, leading to data inconsistencies and security gaps. I'll give an example. I have this instance that is running the Zurich version, and we have a field that is read-only. And if I wanted to change it using client script, I could click here. It's an GUI action on the client side, and not even GUI action. You could actually use browser console to set the value. So for example, if I type gform.setValue, and we will put in name of the field, random value, and set it. It is set. And if I were to save the form, the value persists in the background in the database. So setting a field to read only was mere suggestion. Anybody who knew what to do could easily bypass this restriction. Now let us quickly jump to how Australia version handles it. So this is a very similar scenario, similar table, and we have a field that is read only here. But when we jump to the dictionary, what you find is that there is no checkbox here. What we now have is a read only option drop down, which has three possible values: display read only, client script modifiable, and strict read only. Let's quickly jump to official documentation to understand what they mean by this. If we were to set the value display read only, it is very similar to what we have right now in Zurich. That is, the field is shown as read only, but the client script or browser client script can change it. So can server-side operations like table API, GraphQL, and GlideRecordSecure. Important to note that they are not talking about GlideRecord, just GlideRecordSecure, and we'll come to that a little later. If we were to set the drop-down option to client script modifiable, that means the values are shown or displayed as read only, but they can be modified using client script. But they cannot be modified using server-side APIs, which could be table API, GraphQL, or GlideRecordSecure. The third option being strict read only. It displays the record as read only, the field as read only, and you cannot modify this value using client script or server-side APIs. We will go through these three scenarios quickly through our record here. For example, this is read only, and we have set the value as display read only, which is very similar to what we have in Zurich. So if I were to try and set the value using gform, let's copy the name of the field, new value. Oh, we should have changed it to something else again, and the value changes to new value again. Now let's explore the second option. When we set it to client script modifiable, we save it, refresh the page, and let's run the last command that we did. The value changes. But now the important thing is that we should not be able to modify this using background script. So let's quickly jump to background script. We need the name of the table, variable case gr is equal to new GlideRecordSecure. If you remember, I told you that it is important to understand why GlideRecord and GlideRecordSecure are different. We'll explain that right now. So we will get that record. Let's copy the sys ID of that record from here. and case gr dot set value, name of the field, this is new value, and case gr dot update. If we were to run this, there is no update, and if we were to refresh this page, it will go back to new value, right? So we were able to modify using client script but not background script. Now let's try something different. Let's remove the secure part from this and run the script again, and you see we were able to modify the value. This is new value. Why did that happen? Is that GlideRecord by default does not respect ACLs and will not respect read-only on this either. Now we will set it to the third option, that is strict read-only. We'll save this and we will refresh this page. And the values not change, and ServiceNow gives you very good log in this case. Ignored call to set value of strict read-only field, because you set it to strict read-only, you cannot modify the value. Now let's go here and change this to secure, and we will set it to this is new value again. There's no update, and if you were to refresh the page, the value does not change. So we have gone through all three possible values of this read-only options, and the implication here is rather profound. The thing I've seen in my experience is that a lot of people use client script to change values of read-only fields, and this will stop. But there is, because Australia has just introduced this, and if you were using this method of setting values in client script or background script, that will continue to work until the system admin changes the way field is presented. There is also a global property, we'll come to that, and that property is this one. So if I were to go to sys properties and search for this one, it is set to client script modifiable. So if we were using set value in client scripts to modify values of fields, read-only fields, that will continue to work. But background script, fixed script, schedule jobs, which uses GlideRecordSecure, they will stop working the moment instance is upgraded to Australia. And ServiceNow has already communicated with their build partners to look into this, to look into the application, how they have used these functions and these functionalities. And in one of our instances, they did find 4 occasions where we have used it, and they asked it to update the application and recertify by 30th of April. So if you are a build partner, if you have worked on a custom scope app, this is the time period that you will have to update your application to match the new security features. As always, thank you for watching. If you like the videos, please subscribe, and if you are being generous, if you feel generous, if you're really happy, share it with others. Thank you.